All right, here we go. Another edition of the Quarantine Stream. Salute to everybody out there. Happy Friday evening to you guys. CP from KnicksFanTV. My man JL's from Nick of Time Show. Special guest this evening, JL's. He is a skills trainer, having trained some NBA athletes such as Serge Ibaka, Mason Plumlee. Also trains some WNBA athletes along the collegiate and high school levels as well. David Zenon in the building. David, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
Yo, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we've been planning it. You know, we were trying to get you in the studio back when we weren't, isolating ourselves. But obviously, we don't
Yeah.
know when that's going to be. So, there's always room on the post-game live show. So thanks for joining us, man.
Nah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, bro. So before we get into, all things Knicks, I want to touch on your story and your journey because I think it's very inspirational and I think it's a very interesting one. So just give us a little bit about your background and how you got into training.
Yeah, so, once I graduated college, throughout college, I was a, practice player at Liberty University. And, when you are basically learning different offenses and different positions throughout the time that, you have an opponent coming up, it's easy for you to kind of just pick up on different, terminologies, different offenses, different tendencies of different players. So I studied every single time, obviously, that, we had a new opponent coming up that I needed to know a different offense, different position and whatnot. So it was like, well, I could do this for a living. I think this is, a passion of mine in terms of a sport I love to play, but also I just love to learn and teach the game the right way. So I graduated college, wanted to get into coaching. It obviously isn't as easy of a job to get into. So, I just started training. I was like training kids to make money, coaching AAU, doing a lot of stuff in terms of the grassroots thing. And listen, as much as you may love the sport, love doesn't pay the bills. So,
It's
Sorry
tough.
about
it was like,
Tough.
so, things got kind of tight, lean, I should say. And, I was legit down to like $4.75. And this young man hit me up and was like, look, I'm trying to train so I can make my varsity basketball team. So I said, sure, man, A, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, A, I need to make some money, but B, this is a great opportunity to help somebody out. So I go to the gas station, 4.75 on my card. I found a quarter in the glove compartment. I asked the
Hey.
guy, I asked the guy pumping the gas. I'm like, listen, bro.
Lost the stream, but go ahead and pick up where you started at the gas station.
Yeah. So, this dude, I asked him to put 25 cents in because I needed, as much gas as I could to get to the workout. And I met the young man, had a great workout, hit it off with his parents, developed a great rapport. And I was lucky enough that, his parents were asking me, like, is this what you do for a living? And I was like, yes, man. And they opened up their doors to me in ways I can't even explain. And they were connected to some very important people in the sports world. And they kind of just led me to that situation where it was like, we can help you get to this spot, but, you got to pick it up from there. And I was eventually led or given the opportunity to work the shot clock for the Westchester Knicks. So any opportunity I had to talk to anybody in the arena, I did. I had resumes, I had cards, I had everything lined up, and I was just like, this isn't what I do. I actually want to train guys. I actually train dudes. I do some EuroLeague training. I was just trying to sell myself as much as I could because I was still learning too. And I developed a great relationship, pretty good, I should say, with Langston Galloway. He got called up, or he was the first Western Nick called up.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was a Westchester Nick when I was working for the Westchester Knicks. So, you always see each other and, develop that relationship. And the reason why I mention that is because the year that Porzingis got drafted to the Knicks, he was, new to White Plains. And I literally lived next to, his building, right there. And I said, he tweeted one day that he needed a gym for his brothers to play some pickup. And I was like, I got a gym. So listen, man, I got a gym. I DM'd my number to one of the brothers. And I was like, ask Langston about me, ask some of the people that are around MSG about me. I'm willing to help out with anything you guys need. An hour later, I got a text back, and
Nice.
they were like, where's this gym? We can meet you there. So I met all three of the brothers at this gym, and it was just cool to see their relationship, but also just how relaxed, KP was walking into a community center in Greenberg. Like he's like, I'm just here to, see my brothers hoop. So the reason why I mention all of that is just because, KP's agent also represented Serge Ibaka. So, throughout the time that we had talked about whether it was training or just basketball in general, I worked out, this one guy that was going to EuroLeague first. And they said, we're going to give you an opportunity to work out Serge. It's basically a tryout. So if he likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't, well, it was good, But so we worked out. Serge liked it. This was, summer of 2017, and he was like, yeah, this is going to be my guy. And it's been a great relationship, and it's opened up so many doors just because, where we train at the NBPA, there's so many players that go through there. There's so many different, executives or people that, you just want to learn from. That the most important thing you could do in this industry, as you guys know, you got to network.
Yeah.
And you got to do it the right way and just kind of build relationships organically. So, that led to me working out Mason Plumlee and, Marshall Plumlee, all three of the Plumlees. And, I grew up a huge Duke fan too. So it was kind of cool to be like, I got these dudes, like, oh, this is dope. And
we lost him?
You lost him?
Mo having the relationship with, Billy Hernangomez and KP, it was great for me. So all these things just culminated by just taking a chance. You got to bet on yourself, and those doors will open up. So
true story, man. I love that,
definitely
man.
An awesome opportunity.
Absolutely, man. Bet on yourself, no doubt about it. And it took you to the championship. Serge ended up being an NBA champion. You're riding the floats in Toronto.
That was
crazy. You're down in Chicago, coaching Common one on one. He goes on to win the MVP of the celebrity game, and you're on center court dapping up Common. So that's been an interesting journey, man. Very happy for you.
Great. Awesome, man.
Did you teach Ibaka how to shoot? Because there was a time where he extended out and started hitting them some threes. Was that you? Did you take credit for that?
The first summer that we worked together, he was actually shooting pretty well from three. So I'm not going to take all the credit. He has a guy from Spain named Hugo Lopez who works out with him when he travels. But, working with Hugo, it's great because you're dealing with a dude who has so much knowledge in, EuroLeague and coaching at Real Madrid, and now he coaches at another team in Spain. But the summer after we met in 2017, it was a, culminative effort to, make his shot a little bit more compact, not to dip the ball so much and have wasted movement. And his 3-point percentage actually went up. I believe it was like 2.5 3 points. Like, it was pretty great for him to be able to do that and also put the ball on the floor. So, there was more to him in terms of his game that he was trying to learn. So, just basically letting him experiment, but then also saying, hey, Serge, you could utilize this, because when you study a team's offense, which is something that I like to do whenever I train a player, you're going to learn that the X's and O's, of course, they're going to run certain plays, but he had more of a bigger role with Nick Nurse leaving, coming into play with instead of Sam Casey. So it was just very interesting to see his growth and what he was willing to do. And a lot of players are just like, this is my bread and butter. I'm not going to break out of it. But Serge is a very particular guy, meticulous, borderline perfectionist. So, he's going to be that guy that wants to do everything the right way. And we'll be there for like 3 hours, just the right thing every time. So, it makes my job very easy.
That's dope. That's dope, man. Now, you also, you're an assistant coach at the Patrick School in New Jersey, right?
Yes, sir.
The famed Patrick School, home of Kyrie Irving, Al Harrington, Sam Dalembert, to name a few. What's that experience been like coaching there?
It's great. These kids, it's an elite program. We were preseason, top 3 in the country. These guys, we got the number 1 player in the country in Jonathan Kuminga, who's an absolute animal. And, we've had the luxury of just having these high major, borderline pro kids, come through there this year. So it was so much easier to be able to relate to them and to talk to them about stuff that they want to do and expanding their games, because that was my biggest role with the Patrick School. A little bit less with the X's and O's, but more like player development, and just to have them basically get ready for the next level, whether it be the G League or now, Dama Simango, who's going to go to UConn, Sanago, excuse me. He's going to be a beast, but you got to learn the little things, and it's very intricate what goes into this game. So it was great. It was an eye-opening experience. Kyrie being around a lot also helped out, because those kids developed an actual relationship with him. It wasn't like just this famed alum that comes through once in a while. Like, no, he was there quite often and was very open to having them pick his brain. He even coached a few practices sometimes just to kind of, get his hands in there. So it was kind of cool to see that. And the kids were very receptive to it, as I would,
Nice.
if an all-star would come into the gym. But it was a great experience. And, we had the honor of meeting Kobe Bryant, after one of the Nets games where they played the Hawks, and to see the look on their faces when he came out of the car. He spent about 5 minutes with us, just talking about the upcoming game we had against Roosevelt Catholic, talking about work ethic, advice. Just it was 5 minutes that those kids will obviously never, ever, ever forget. Neither will I. So, the season was magical. It was great. I'm pretty blessed to be there.
That's dope, man. Rest in peace to the Mamba, man. I'm sure that was a life-changing experience for you, and certainly I'm sure that validated, your journey a little bit as you, continue on to hone your craft, man. So that was real cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Also, you got a chance to work with Duke, Knicks draft pick R.J. Barrett, and also Zion Williamson. Got to shoot a commercial with those two guys. What was it like working with R.J., man?
Yeah.
And RJ, that's my man. He's a great kid, a cerebral kid. But when I love to tell this story, man. When we got set up with this opportunity, a friend of mine came to me and he was like, I know you got a relationship with these two dudes. They just declared for the draft. So he's like, why don't we set up this commercial for them? It'll be great. You can come, you could, be a part of it. And these dudes are about, I'd say we shot the commercial about 3 weeks from the draft, 3.5 weeks from the draft. And RJ was still talking about the loss against Michigan State. And he was like, man, I can't believe we did this. And he had about like 7 different scenarios. I should have done this. I'm like, listen, man, it's all good. You're gonna get drafted in a few weeks. It's all good. But when they played that preseason game where he hit the free throws to beat Washington, he brought up the fact that was the same basket I should have hit the free throw against Michigan State.
Yep.
That's the type of kid he is. And he's a sweet kid off the court, but I'll tell you this right now, that kid is a dog. And I don't say that, oh yeah, we all know, we've seen it. But from personal firsthand experiences, trust me, that kid's a dog. So listen, man, we didn't get Z here, but we got RJ. I was still ecstatic. I'm proud of both of them, but RJ, fans are going to be happy with him for a long time to come.
Yeah. I could agree with that, man. And you could definitely see the dog in him, and you could see he has that work ethic. I had the benefit of speaking to his father before one of the games, and you could just see that pedigree in him. He comes from a great family, a great basketball family, and he's Jamaican too, JLs. Make no mistake. We work. We put that work in. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Got 5 jobs.
Exactly. David, from a shooting perspective, I know shooting is kind of your forte. Obviously, that's an area where we see RJ needs to get better at, especially in the free throw line and so on and so forth. What do you see when you look at his shot this season, and what do you think he needs to work on?
Yeah, Drew Hanlon's doing a great job with him. That's his off-season trainer, and a guy that I know, knowledgeable in that aspect. Things that we talk about, just listen, man, there's an opportunity for players to, develop quicker than others when they make that jump to the league. RJ is a natural scorer without even shooting the ball that well sometimes. But, there were things that I saw that he did where, you may call it overthinking, but not overthinking in the moment, because RJ is not scared of the moment. I think he was just overthinking in terms of the mechanics he needed to use. And, being the fact that, I'm sure you guys have seen RJ up close. People don't realize how strong and how big he is. And he, sometimes there's things where he does where it's kind of like wasted movement. And so, overcompensate the fact that, he is a strong kid and, sometimes he may push the ball. And it's like the opposite of, what Kevin Knox may do, where, you could see either the palm start on the side of the ball and then it twists. I like to teach, the hands behind the ball, the thumbs are like a T. Everything's one straight shot. It's one motion. You're very balanced. And, there will be times here and there where RJ, most of his free throws were back irons. And it was kind of like a 1-2 push kind of thing going on. So he's going to get comfortable with it. He's going to tweak some things, of course, working with the trainers that he has. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, the most important thing I could see him working on is just the touch with the basketball and getting used to just having one motion instead of that 1-2. College, you can get away with it. And the fact that he could beat almost anybody off the dribble, that doesn't help because you may fall in love with it too much. But there's going to be a point in time where teams are going to start running him off the line, forcing him to take those one dribble pull-ups and be confident with it, and he will. It's just there's always a learning curve.
True. Mm-hmm. True story, man. Well, one thing you definitely pointed to, which we saw this year, which was certainly a strength, was his strength. And using his size to get to the basket and really muscle guys. Definitely got to work on his finishing. But I thought, the way that he got to the basket, especially later in the season, certainly carried him when the shot wasn't falling.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, if he's capable of driving to the rim, pretty well. I mean, great. The finishing thing, listen, sometimes lineups, the matchups, the people that, may help or may not help spread the floor. When you have a player that's capable of reading angles the way that RJ does, those passes are going to be there, but then also when you're trying to establish that one rhythm, that one shot that goes in that you see, I could start getting off tonight. Mm-hmm. Then you're trying to balance the two, but also, getting guys involved, facilitating involved. And those guys have to hit those shots. Yeah. So, there were a lot of times throughout the season where, let's be honest, whether it was on RJ's side or whether it was the players that he was passing to, shots weren't being made. True. And that's, that could be a difficult thing for a player to develop a rhythm that way. So, yeah, the finishing thing, definitely, he'll work on that. I know he had, he tweaked his back throughout some point in the year and, he was dealing with little nicks and knacks here and there, but nothing severe that, I'd be worried about. But yeah, listen, when you have guys that can finish shots, it makes your life easier in terms of finishing around the basket.
Go ahead, Jails.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know we're looking to add shooters this summer, so hopefully that ends up happening. Do you see any other players that you would like to have your hands on
the Knicks?
On the Knicks roster?
Yeah, I would love to. Listen, man, now that I'm on here, I'm going to publicly state I actually like Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm glad you said that because the chat was ready to get at you, man. There's people in the chat that want answers, David.
Let's go.
Listen, man. So here's my thing with the Hive. the thing with the Hive is, I was basically saying that I did tweet about a while ago that he would be a guy that I'll be interested in trading. And the reason why I mentioned that is because out of all the young pieces we had that we could possibly get rid of or could afford to get rid of, and let's be honest, out of the three, Frank, Mitch, RJ, which one are you more susceptible or leading to in terms of trading? Not saying that he has to go, but that would be the most coveted piece that teams are actually going to be capable of getting. Like, we're not going to get rid of Mitch. We're not going to get rid of RJ. So that's here nor there. And, Knox is in the same boat. Knox and Frank, I was just like, listen, man, in terms of building a team and in a business, that's what it is. It's not personal. I've met Frank several times. I mean, I even sat next to the dude during a Westchester Knicks game, and we talked about a mutual friend of ours that played with him when he was overseas in France. So trust me, I like the kid. I personally, I love the kid, and I would love to work with him because he could be a tremendous facet for the team. Yeah, he's a great defender, long, on ball. You know, he gives guys lots of fits. The one thing that I do get a little bit annoyed with him about defensively is help side. I think sometimes, you know, he does get a little too deep or he does get too far where he may hug his man too much.
Right.
And listen, I'd rather you be overly aggressive than underly aggressive, but you also have to be cognizant of what's going on in the play.
Right.
So, you know, Frank High, listen, I love your boy. I actually like your boy. You know, he's not a superstar, but he's gonna be a good player, man. You know, you got to call it what it is. And when you're objective, especially in my line of work, because I had somebody tweet me back about that, where it's like that could be a potential client. Well, I'll tell that client too the same thing, just like I would tell, you know, listen, one of my first guys training for pre-draft was Thon Maker. And, you know, there were lots of things he needed to work on. And I said something, you know, his manager, the guy that was handling him, said something, and it's not to be dismissive or to demean you. This is what you got to work on. And Frank's got to work on, you know, the offensive end of the ball.
How else would they improve if you don't tell them the truth?
Exactly.
Hey, listen, man. And when you're objective, people may think you're a hater, but it's also one of those things where, just like we're having dialogue, I would have dialogue with Frank too, and say, could you be completely honest and tell me this? Is your footwork good? Do you have the same shot pocket? And do you have a quick release point after you go from the 90-degree elbow angle? And 2 out of those 3 things, you can consistently say with him, no. And it's not any fault of his own. I think it's just he's had different player development coaches there. He's had, what are we working on? Our 4th coach now?
Yeah, exactly,
now?
Man. Exactly.
So,
the problem.
You know, there's lots of things that are going to be sprinkled in with that. But if you're going to be honest, those 3 things that I mentioned, that's something where you can say consistently, no, he hasn't. Yeah. So if you're able to tweak some things, and, you know, once his shot gets a little bit more fluid, and also the confidence factor, there's a lots of things that I would say, whether it was Knox or Frank, because both of them I would love to work with. The confidence factor is huge. And so Kevin Knox and Frank would be the 2 guys on the roster right now that I would like to work with the most. You know, I already work with Mitch, so you know, that's one of those things where we have a relationship. So it's like, you know, trust me.
Yeah.
You know, his trainer from New Orleans and I have always been, this is what you got to do, bro. But yeah, man, I think Knox and Frank would be the 2 dudes I would like to work with the most, just because I think the rest of the roster, you know, Julius, he's an established position as a vet. You know, and what he does is what he does. You know, he's kind of habitual with his movements and methods. You know, Dotson's another one. I would love to do some stuff with Dotson. Yeah, you know, he, great shooter, and could be possibly part of that youth movement that we need. And you know, I know Iggy's agent, but I've never worked with Iggy. But you know, just to kind of, you could always get in his ear. And you know, I never am the type of trainer that want to overstep boundaries and say, well, this is what I think your man should do. No, you know, just if the player needs help or wants to develop in an aspect in the perimeter game, I'm all for it.
Don't step on toes. I
have a question too, because I know the chat wants to hear about Mitch in particular, because there's like a little internal debate about what should Mitch work on. Should he be working on the shooting more now?
A lot of overreactions to workout videos. My man just in the gym having fun with his friends. Oh my God, it's crazy. And I post it all the time, JL, just to tweak people, because people just overreact, man.
It's fun.
Man, I'll tell you, man. Man, I tweeted one video of us finishing a workout at Lifetime up here in Westchester. We finished working out at like 1 something in the morning with a 3, mind you.
I remember that. Yep.
We worked out for 2 hours on jump hooks, you know, post moves, 15-footers, the literally the last 30 seconds of whatever we were doing,
Yes.
and he decided to chuck up a three.
Yes, I remember that.
All my DMs were just like, he's got to have a hook. You got to. I'm like, listen, bro. Listen.
A 5-second video.
Man, bro, he's got. Oh, the best one was he's got to get more sleep. I said, listen, bro.
Nah.
I'd love to be in bed right now too. It's 1 something in the morning. Like I just literally posted this. Come on, bro.
That's
funny. So yeah, he works on that stuff. And you know, the videos that the fans see, well, he's not gonna do that in the game, or he's not gonna do this. Well, what's the best place that you could hone your skill set than in an environment in which, you know, there's no repercussions if you lose the ball,
right.
but you're gonna learn.
Right.
Where's the one place that you learned to play basketball was a park where you missed way more shots than you made when you first started playing this game. People don't realize that Mitch has only been playing this game since he was like 16.
Still raw. Yeah.
He's raw. And you know, when his trainer told me about him back when he was 16, you know, you saw the writing on the wall just with his body and his athleticism. But leading up to his senior year, he was hitting threes and he was, you know, putting the ball more on the floor, but he hasn't even learned the game to its extent yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, you know, I got to bite my tongue. But I got to bite my tongue with people on Twitter that say, well, you know, if he wasn't in foul trouble, if he wasn't this, and yeah, you know what? But the speed of the game, you know, if I put you out there, you're going to pick up 3 fouls because you're not guarding the dude in front of you. Just a normal human being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is a kid who was out of the game, before his rookie year for almost, you know, almost a whole calendar year. Yeah. So Mitch, yes, fans, Mitch works on more than threes. Yes, he works on post moves. He shoots free throws. Yes, he's like Mike ends. What else you want?
Right.
I got, you know, he does those things. And it also goes to show you that he does work on things, because if he's able to dribble like that against guys that are fouling him clearly in that video and it's not being called, what is he going to do in a controlled environment?
True story.
I just, listen, you can't have it both ways, fans. You know, the boy needs more sleep. The boy needs more hook shots. You know, I'll listen to all of that, but I think he'll be all right.
I say just let him work, man. Just let him work.
Yeah.
We're talking to NBA skills trainer David Zenon. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. We're going to segue into the draft in a second. If you guys want to call in with your questions or comments for David, definitely call up 657-383-1509. I know Jay from Florida is definitely itching to talk Halliburton, so we're going to get to all of that in a second. I want to acknowledge some of the super chats that came in. Shout out to Mr. GQ NYC. He says, David is a good dude, down to earth brother. I had the pleasure of meeting him at a Mets game and at MSG. Mutual friend. Oh, we lost. Oh, he's back in. Mutual friend Sergio C. So I don't know if you know Sergio C, but mutual friend Sergio C. Then also Nick Central O Skrilla sends us a super chat. He says Mitch is one of the best shot blockers in the entire NBA, and Frank is one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. We both have them in their early 20s. So I guess Nick Central's saying patience, patience, people.
Patience.
Yep. All right, so let's segue to the draft. You know, don't know when the draft is going to be, but you know, we've been having our draft series. Give me your top 3 point guard prospects for the Knicks right now.
Here we go. Man, top 3. I mean, Halliburton's been this guy that I've been preaching about for a while, talking about for a while. I like Halliburton. I like Hayes. But LaMelo Ball is at the top of my list. You know, that's the guy that I want. Obviously, he's a beast, man. But yeah, I think those 3 would be the guys that I would lean to, you know, to have on the Knicks. Obviously, in terms of a draft pick, you know, you got the Cole Anthonys of the world. You know, Cole Anthony's a tremendous talent, explosive, athletic. You know, that knee injury, you know, not that, you know, you can come back from a meniscus tear, you know, just about anything else. But I just think that it didn't help that his teammates were hurt a lot in North Carolina, so I couldn't see his full
I feel like with Cole, like I feel like you didn't get enough film on him, right or wrong.
It's hard. It's hard. Not and even if you did, I mean, I watched about 4 or 5 games, like actual games of UNC. I just wanted to scout a little bit and see what's up. Since they were going to play Duke. Just kidding. But nah, I wanted to watch Cole more so just because UNC pushes the ball, and their whole thing is in terms of establishing that tempo. I wanted to see how well he would fare with stopping on a dime and the pull-up jump shots, but also outlet passing, just throwing the ball wide and deep, being able to do things like that. So it was hard because a lot of his teammates that you would have thought would be able to put up better numbers were hurt. And then, he ended up getting hurt. So it's tough. Like, no knock on Cole. Like, if the Knicks were to draft Cole, I wouldn't be upset at all. I see the athletic potential. I see the playmaking potential, although he didn't get to show it. However, if you wanted my honest opinion on 3 guys that I watched a lot, and they were able to, for the most part, finish the year besides Halliburton, those 3, LaMelo, Hayes, and Halliburton. So, yeah.
Does LaMelo's shooting concern you, especially being paired with RJ, who's struggling at the moment?
You know what? It does, but he is such a great passer to the point where he's able to create more so in tight spaces than almost any other guard in the draft. Yeah. For a kid that's 6'7", his shot sometimes makes him a little bit shorter because, he loads up from about where he would be like 6'4"-ish instead of the whole 6'7", and then extending. But he's able to boogie, and he can put the ball on the floor. But his vision is the thing that sets him apart.
Vision is crazy.
His vision's incredible, and he's been playing against grown men, for the last 4 years, essentially. And he's also learned the game. I tweeted about this yesterday that he got to see his brother go to, arguably the greatest storied franchise with the second biggest market, with expectations through the roof.
True.
And, be the toast of the town and learn how to maneuver that, but then also be the scapegoat and then also be traded. And just, you got to learn the game, the ins and outs.
I think that hurt Lonzo. I think that part of what hurt Lonzo. Now you see him play better now.
Oh, yeah. When you pair him up with the pieces that, he's used to run with and stuff like that, it makes everything easier for him. But yeah, so, LaMelo's been groomed to be in this position, and I don't think New York is going to be too much of a hassle for him. And Halliburton, look.
Yeah, let's get into this because
let's get into this.
A lot of these Knicks fans they want the flash, like Jay from Florida. He's going to tell you he wants the flash and everything, and he doesn't see that with Halliburton. I see a play that one can defend, has the length, has the 3-point shot that can knock it down at the next level. And I think those things, he may not turn into a superstar, but I think he's certainly a play that you can plug in and help you win.
And that's you go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts with that.
Now, I mean, if we're picking 6 to me, I don't want to go with like another role play. I want to at least go with somebody who has the potential to take over a game at some point. Like, I know the fit would be with RJ makes complete sense, but taking over a game offensively to spell somebody else, I don't see that.
No, I hear you, and it's hard. This draft isn't really great. It's kind of weak when you go to past the 6th pick per se. You're going to get a lot of plug-in guys. But you're also going to get a lot of diamond in the roughs, which, I'll get to later. But, one of my biggest things with Halliburton is, yes, the length. He's able to defend. His shot is funky. Yes, trust me. It's as a shooting coach. That's
facts. As a shooting coach, do you try to fix it? Like, they tried to fix Lonzo's shot. What would you do as a shooting coach with Halliburton?
The same thing that, and here's Frank Hive, you're going to love me or hate me. Frank has a 3-part shot. he has, sometimes he has a hitch, although it may not look it, but, he does hold on to the ball to the apex of the jump. I get it. Mechanically, for the most part, it's good. His arms are so long that he does create a lot of wasted movement. Now, the same thing goes with Halliburton, where he's very compact, but then from the shot pocket to the eyebrow, it's one motion, but then the same thing. It's like a hold and hitch. So they're very similar players. The only thing is Halliburton is a tremendous – he doesn't get enough credit for his passing. There's this crazy stat about him that the team shot 29%. Iowa State shot 29% from the field. We're talking overall in the Big 12. And meanwhile, he averaged almost 7 assists per game. Now, I'm like, think about that. If you're talking about dudes that, you're shooting less than 30% as a team from the perimeter, that the fact that this dude is able to get that, those decent numbers, and also the way that he gets them. There's a few clips where he has teammates missing. And if fans out there are able to get on something called synergy, I highly suggest you do so, because you're going to see a lot of passes that find his teammates either not ready, or like that they miss that shot where he makes this pass where you're like, yo, how did you find this dude? So, that's something that I can't stress enough. But on the flip side, he's tremendous in terms of getting hockey assists, where it's leading that guy, if it's a backdoor screen, to have somebody in the dunker spot ready before a dunk. Having a dude with like RJ next to him, I think fans are really enamored with the fact that you're looking for dudes. And of course, this is the NBA now. We're looking for a bunch of, 3-point shooters. However, you're talking about a kid in RJ who can not only drive, but also slash. And he can create off of slashing. So if you have Halliburton, who does a great job in reading angles, is lefty, and is capable of getting a lot of those angles off of the passes, for RJ, that is a lot of things that you could read with Mitch on the weak side, a shooter on the weak side, and then Mitch in the dunker spot, or pick and roll. So that's the reason why I like Halliburton so much. And he's a great defender. And if you want to be, quite frank, no pun intended, Halliburton leading into a guy like Frank off the bench, that's just a lot of length that you're going to see. But you also have RJ there too. That's my biggest takeaway. Hayes, he's one of those guys. He's intriguing, 6'5" as well, lefty. His shot's gotten way better. But there's a lot of things that he does where, it's not necessarily making the play where it would be the smartest. And he does leave his feet a lot when he makes certain passes. And, that's going to get picked off in the NBA. But one of the big things I like about him is that, he's young, very, very young. So you can groom him too. So, those three are the guys that you got to focus on, those three, if I'm the Knicks, in terms of the point guard situation for the draft, at least. And, who knows, maybe the CP3 thing happens, and then you really have a guy that could be groomed, or could play alongside him with LaMelo, which would be awesome, to make things even easier, to alleviate that. So those are my three. And I'd love to hear my man in Florida what he's got to say.
Yeah, I'm about to work on getting him in. How about Kyra Lewis? Any thoughts on Kyra Lewis?
In my mind.
He's tough. He's probably the fastest dude with the ball in his hands in the draft, on the floor. Man, that's a one-man fast break. He's a speed demon, man. And he's a dog, tough-minded kid. Offensively, not as, he could do great in terms of one dribble pull-ups and be able to make those little, passes. The same thing, hockey assists. Not clearly the same vision as, Halliburton and Ball, but, he's got pretty good, vision. However, his main thing is just, man, you want to talk about just, you don't need anybody for a fast break? Cool. he's gonna beat everybody down the floor.
Need that speed for sure.
A lot of penetrating kick with that boy. Trust me, he's good.
Good stuff, man. We're talking to David Zenon, NBA skills trainer. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Salute to everybody in the chat. All right, let's hear from Jay. Jay from Florida. He's the anti-Halliburton.
The anti-Burton.
He calls us every show just to get that point across, even when we're not talking about Halliburton.
Yeah, exactly.
So, hold on. Let me patch him in real quick, and should be good to go. Jay, you good to go, man? What's going on?
Be easy, Jay.
Yo, come on, man. Come on. So I sat down. I said, I'm gonna look at the highlights today, right? So I don't want to judge it no more. So I said, I'm gonna watch the highlights today, bro. Dave, how are you gonna say you want to draft him and you dislike Frank? So you want
I don't dislike Frank.
Yeah, but Jay, he told you he doesn't necessarily dislike Frank. He just pointed out Frank's flaws.
Yeah.
Bro, he looked douche like Reggie Miller. But you don't see he's like a skinny Reggie Miller with a Rick Barry set shot.
And you mentioned two great players, but okay.
Yeah, right. You just mentioned two of the best players to play the game. I mean, I'll take it. If he's the next Reggie, hey, bring him on. You know?
Bro, I don't see it, man. Maybe this kid might be Matt Johnson. He might be close to an open court. I just don't. He can't shoot a set shot in 2020, bro. It's not gonna work. He can't shoot off the dribble. He don't have no range game. Dweeby, bro. I went on.
Yeah,
I was like, maybe he might be better off.
Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I hear you 100%. Yeah, nobody's gonna get away with a set shot, push shot, I guess whatever you called it in the NBA. The reason why I say that he's a really good fit, yes, he actually shot really well from three at Iowa State. And I know the NBA line is different from the collegiate line, but hey, listen, man, if you watch Synergy, and I don't like talking about players unless I've seen them in person. That's a big thing of mine. Like, I don't like really diving into something unless I've seen these dudes in person. And majority of the guys that I've mentioned, I've seen them all play, except for LaMelo. I only saw in person for a workout. But Halliburton in person is quicker than he looks. I get it. Guys are looking for him to be more explosive and the whole set shot thing. But if you're going to be honest, the way the league works with penetrate and kick, he can get away with that shot with relocation, off-ball screens, things like that. And if you're able to create, if you're able to have a guy that could create more scoring opportunities for your wings and slashers and RJ Dotson, Knox. I mean, hell, you're talking about length with Frank. One other guy, if you have another guy that's able to see the floor in that height with that length, why not? I think it would just be easy. And yes, is he going to be an all-star? No. But he's going to be the guy that will put everybody in the right position in order to score. And Flash is overrated. I mean, if you're going to be honest, if we're going to be brutally honest, Luka's not flashy. Yes, he gets away with the step backs and he has certain spots. But the first thing everybody was talking about when he was getting into the league is, well, this kid from Slovenia is not athletic. He's going to have a really hard time. True. And guess what? Boy was cooking. True. And listen, Luka does have a set shot too. I've yet to see him hit a one dribble, two dribble pull up. Never mind, throughout the majority of the time he's been in Dallas so far, a majority of his shots that come from the perimeter, it's all rip throughs, pump fakes or that step back. So, I seen it. I like Halliburton and I see where you're coming from, bro. Flash does sell, but them assists win. So that's where I'm gonna go with that.
Coach. I know you know what you're doing, but I want Cole Anthony. I want a chucker. I want inefficiency. I want Duncan. I want 2 for 28 from the field. I just want excitement. I want 2 for 28. In the corner and shoot that 3-point shot.
Yeah, wait, come on, man.
Yeah, that's what he said, David. He said he wants a chucker. He wants to be entertained. He said, "Give me Cole Anthony here at all costs."
Oh man, I'll send you.
I'm willing to trade every pick for the next 5 years for LaMelo, bro.
Hey, man, willing. I got some old J.R. Smith tapes for you then.
Yeah,
I got you. We need a point guard now, man.
We
Shout out
need
to
a point
JR, that's my
guard, man.
Yeah, man.
I like JR.
We need a point guard, man. And like, you know, listen, I hear what Jay's saying, but at the same time, give me a guy. Number one, my priorities for sure with this team is for sure 3-point shooting. Absolutely. We need a guy that's going to get the offense in order, get the team in order for sure from a point guard perspective. But I also think we need to raise the overall, I hate using the word IQ, but we need to raise the awareness of this team, man, because it's just too much boneheaded plays going on with this team. And so if Halliburton could come in and check those boxes, he may not be a superstar, but he could just be another piece that could help us win games.
Sure, for sure. I think you need a plug-in piece for now. And as I said, let's say we do end up getting, this trade does occur and we do get a CP3. That's a kid that's going to be groomed by that point guard. And you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about the acumen of the team at that point, because that's one of the most cerebral players you have coming in. Now, let's say we're devoid of CP3 altogether and we just need a one kid that's going to be smart and able to run something. I honestly, that 29% from the field where his teammates shot that poorly, but he was able to get that many assists. And also the Big 12, and fans should also look at this too. Big 12 is not necessarily an offensive, juggernaut of a conference. You're talking about teams like Baylor in there and Kansas and Kansas State. Like, it's no joke. These are real dogs that are going to strap up. So if you're able to create for yourself and also create for others to the tune of, I think he had 15 and 7. Come on,
Facts.
So yeah, I like that kid a lot.
Factuals. JL, so you want to get in here?
I think you covered everything. I think I want I would like to.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, he would be a great person. That would be one person I would like to work with then. If the Knicks were to get him,
Halliburton.
Knox, Halliburton, Knox, Frank. I've seen so much of all three of them that it's like, the rundown. The irony is that when you look at their games, they're all long players. That's what everybody's looking for today's NBA, and length. Now it's just what's going on between those ears, and to figure out, how to fix the muscle memory in terms of your shot. But Kevin's been working out pretty hard throughout the year. I mean, throughout this quarantine. So I think the youth movement that we have, it's pretty good. But yeah, there's several things I would fix with all three of their shots.
No doubt, man. Let's go out west. Let's go to Arizona. Dave from Arizona, you're up next, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
How you feeling, bro?
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Good, man. Hey, I like your guest, Dave. I like your basketball mind.
Thanks.
Thank you, man.
I want to ask, man, if you had an opportunity to choose, well, I'm gonna come at it from a different angle. If we ended, I think the Knicks should try to do whatever they got to do to get Obi Toppin in there. And of course, since y'all already looking at Chris Paul, you'll be halfway there. So I guess my question out of this is, if you ended up with Chris Paul, Obi Toppin to go along with Mitch Robinson, would you trade R.J. Barrett for somebody like Zach LaVine to jumpstart this thing?
No.
And maybe you might end up. It might be a far stretch, but you might end up with Gordon Hayward or something.
Yeah, listen, those guys are. Yeah, those guys are all good players and all. But we would finally have the opportunity to grow homegrown talent together.
Yeah. And
the knock on Obi, yes, he's 22 years old. I know Obi personally. He's from Westchester, like me. I met him playing pickup 2 years ago before, he blew up, and like we remained in contact ever since. And just talking about his development with him when we were at the Nike Academy, you could tell this dude, he is built just like Amar Stoudemire. It's not even, it's scary how similar he is to him. The reason why I wouldn't do the trade with RJ to put him next to an Obi is just because with Obi, you have an elite rim runner. And what I mean by that is, a guy that's going to get out in front of everybody in transition, as you saw what he did in Dayton. He would bring excitement to the Garden, finishing with those type of dunks.
Sure.
But more importantly, he would be able to open up the floor once those shooters and or slashers, RJ if he's trailing, or whatever point guard we may have, those opportunities are going to open up. But Obi's also great at passing out of the double team, and he's shown a great ability to hit that, mid-range to three-point shot, which is going to open up the floor for Mitch. But you're going to need a dude who's great at slashing in order to sell it for Mitch to hit that pick and roll. Enter RJ. So, yeah, I couldn't – would it be cool to have a Gordon Hayward? Yeah, but, you're also talking about a player that's, 10 years older?
Yeah, I'm not going for Zach LaVine.
And Zach LaVine, I think, is – Zach LaVine's set right now with Chicago, but he would be more of a dude that comes in a package kind of thing. I don't think there's anybody we have that's going to be straight up for Zach.
Yeah.
And he's a terrific player, don't get me wrong, but 19 years old, 23, 24 years old, it's kind of different. So yeah, man, I see where you're coming from. It'll be a dope squad, but for personal reasons and also just to see the team, I want to see RJ stay here.
I guess I guess that does open up a question for me, because there's been like a little power forward debate. Say the Knicks go a power forward direction, then you have Obi topping, and then you have someone like Denny, who's been lined up over there overseas. Like, who would you feel like you would go with out of those two guys?
I mean, I would, man.
And I want to get to the Denny. I got the Denny shooting video. I want to get to that in a second. But go ahead and answer.
My bad.
No, go ahead. Since you asked it, go ahead. David, go ahead.
Which David?
David's.
Me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. I would go with man. I mean, Obi's my choice. At the end of the day, Denny's done a lot in terms of fixing his shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fall in love with, or, I want to see him shoot that confidently in a game. I want to see him consistently shoot like that in a game. There's a little bit of things that he's done that show me defensively. There are some questions I have about him. Obi too, though, just listen, there are things that Obi's going to have to learn in the league where, there's lots of things with hedging, icing, but also just, let's be real, when they start pick and rolling and pick and popping, you're going to have to, be able to stay with the guard for, 3 to 4 dribbles and then relocate or just stay in front of him. And that's something that Obi has shown time to have trouble with, but he's so athletic and the floor is so spaced out that I think it might be able to help him more than hurt him. Denny, I kind of saw the opposite. I haven't seen a lot in terms of him just being a straight up strap up, stay in front of his guy kind of thing. He's shown, I've seen some highlights of him, weak side help, some blocks here and there. But he's just a guy that with the defensive mindset of the team, we also don't know what coach we have coming in. But if Thibodeau's here, no, I don't think I would like to see Denny be in a Knicks uniform in that situation.
So you think with Obi, depending on scheme and just getting more experience in the league, you think he can be at least average defensively?
No, he's great. I mean, he could be great defensively. Just, I don't know the type of, college it's hard because a lot of the times in college you run a zone.
Mm-hmm.
You could also do stuff where you full court press. There's a lot of those factors fall into place and how a team is going to get back, defensive transition. Dayton was great at it. But you're great at it because you also have a big who can run like a gazelle.
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
it's great for, both sets, I guess, of the argument. But Obi is going to be in a situation where he's just going to have to just straight up, just use his athleticism, and there's no zone, and he doesn't have to worry about sitting too long. And I think it'll actually be better for him. But Denny, I didn't see it, and these are dudes. Don't get me wrong. There's not going to be the same type of athleticism on both sides, whether it's college or overseas. But the eye test, I'm taking Obi.
Now, earlier this week, Denny Avdia, he released some video of him shooting, and that's certainly one of the big question marks in terms of, can he knock that down, because the shooting numbers were kind of erratic this season. What did you look at as someone who coaches and teaches shooting? What did you look at in terms of Denny's form and his mechanics?
So there was the clip that he put out this past week. The first half of the clip was him on the move, going to the slot and then the elbow or wing extended, excuse me. Feet were very close, but when he caught the ball, he dipped it not quite a bit, but he kind of just did this motion where he kind of put the ball down to kind of locate whether it was the rim or just kind of grab the ball and feel a shot, whatever. The reason why that kind of I didn't like it too much is just because, his feet were super close together, which was an issue with the video that he had last week. I wouldn't say more so an issue, but something that caught my eye. And the reason why I say that is when your feet are so close together and you're not necessarily in an athletic stance, especially in the slot, when you have a lot of skip passes and teams that are able to make that pass per se, when you're able to have a wider base, you can elevate quicker, but also you are way more athletic. You can beat your man off the dribble, especially if you need to use your weak hand. The reason why I bring that up is if you watch a lot of tapes on Denny, he does his patented, escape move is a DHO, dribble handoff. He'll go with his right. He doesn't use his left at all. If rarely he does. He could use his left sometimes to finish to the basket. That I give him credit for, and passing. But in order to create the shot, he doesn't necessarily do that. If he gets in trouble, he controls the ball one hand and then has two, does the dribble handoff, and then they, start everything all over again. Or he'll just, go from that pinch post area and go to work when the point guard gives him the ball again. That's something where you're not going to get away with that in the NBA. That's just not going to happen. Teams are going to be able to blow up those screens quite a bit and or blow up those plays quite a bit, whether it's screens or DHOs. So that's something that I wasn't really thrilled about. Then the second half of the video where he's just catch and shoot, he has a great base, great feet, all 10 toes facing the rim. Knees are bent, no wasted movement. But that just goes to show me that he feels comfortable, more with his right. And even though the ball is going to his left hand and it's resting in his guide hand, everybody that's a right-handed shooter knows this, that the majority of the time where you're going to set up that little hezzy, the ball goes to your left. And you're going to be more comfortable doing that. There's less wasted movement. The form looked pretty, don't get me wrong. Guide hand was straight. Everything was nice and tall and high. But I need that from both sides of the floor. And if you're going to be in this situation where there's a skip pass in the slot and a team wants to run you off the three-point line, you're going to have to be able to use both hands there and knock down that shot. So I don't fall in love with just regular, workout, shooting videos. I would love to see that in a
game
whether even if it's a controlled environment and things are, really intense and you're taking away someone's, opportunity to create. That's something that's really important. And not to go back to him, but that's something that Serge worked on too with us, Hugo and I, prior to the season that they won the championship. I was like, I'm 6'3", almost 6'4", 250. So I'm going to be Draymond Green. And that was the guy that was primarily a pain in the butt for Serge on the defensive end for the finals. But you got to be uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. So Denny, I'd like to see a little bit more videos of that and not just highlights. I don't like highlights. I want to see more misses than makes and to see how you miss that shot. Other side, Obi, his shot, he has the same base, same thing every time. So the Denny video, I think fans, yes, if you're looking for a catch and shoot player that could, flourish on whether it's like the Hawks or the Bucks, not that he's going to fall to the Bucks, but you know what I'm saying? Like a team that is able to more, spread the floor out, that's going to be your guy. But in terms of a team like, the Knicks that don't necessarily have the ability to, have other shooters to help spread the floor out for them yet, he doesn't shoot well from the free throw line, and you're asking for a guy that, you know, doesn't finish around the rim either. So great overall playmaker, great IQ, nothing wrong with that. He's going to be a great plug-in player, but I don't see superstar with him.
Interesting. Interesting. We're talking to David Zenon, NBA skills trainer. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. We're going to segue to the best shooters in the draft. But real quick, I want to acknowledge some super chats that came in and get to a phone call. I want to shout out Prince Andy Isaac in the chat. Sends us a super chat. He says, what do you think about Killian Hayes, and who's your pro past or present comparison for Hayes, Halliburton, and Ball?
Man.
Two-sided.
That's a great it's a great 2-for-1.
Yeah.
Comps.
Oh man. Comps
are tough.
Man, well, LaMelo, yeah, it's tough. LaMelo, I haven't seen a player like him, because there's not a lot of players in the game that really move like him. The reason it's man, his vision's crazy. The irony is he's more like his brother. I just got to be honest with you. You know, it's one of those things where I minored in kinesiology, you know, sport movement. Human movement, and you know, I think everyone makes, you know, fun of his shot or his gait, the way that, you know, he runs and walks and whatnot. So it's hard for me to pinpoint a player that's like him. Because that's one of the first things I look for in terms of how they move on the floor, their feet, how they move their hips, things like that. LaMelo hasn't checked the box for another player that's necessarily comparable for him. So I would say his brother is the closest comparison off of a passing standpoint. His vision is like J Kiddish. It's
vision sick.
He's sick. It's sick. His vision's sick. So that would be, you know, I would say that hybrid of like a J Kidd, Lonzo Ball, you know, and Lonzo was compared to J Kidd coming out too, the irony. But he said Hayes and
Halliburton.
Yeah, Hayes and Halliburton is like a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. You know, he's going to play great defense. He's going to be able to facilitate. He's also a pretty good rebounder too. So, you know, I know this guy's not a point guard, but he kind of has his hand in everything, kind of does the dirty work, but then also is able to knock down an open shot. But like, he's a point guard version of a Malcolm Brogdon, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like kind of like this one dude that's able to just, you know, you need an assist here, you want to steal there, you need this, like, and it kind of just, you know, ant hills turn into mountains. You know what I mean? So he's that kind of guy for me. And Hayes, you know, I don't have the comparison for him yet. I will tweet that to you, so you know, make sure that dude sends his handle.
We'll definitely retweet and get that out there.
But yeah, I don't have a necessary NBA comparison for him, because, you know, as I said, I like to really dive into players that I've seen in person. Hayes is one of those guys that I was not able to see in person. Denny's another one. Those are the only two that I haven't. So I'm just going to say, you know, strong body lefty. You know, I just need to see a little bit more for his consistency on the outside jumper, because I don't see that yet.
All right. Next question, we got Nick Central. Skrilly says, any thoughts on trading down and up and grabbing Sadiq Bey and then Kyra Lewis Jr. with 11 and 12? So going into the shooting, what's your thoughts on Sadiq Bey out of Nova?
Oh yeah, that boy is tough. I tweeted about him last year when he was kind of finding his role with Villanova, but then it turned into him being, you know, this bucket getter for Villanova. He's a tough kid. He's got a great physique, great body. You know, 6'7", 6'8" range. The thing I like about him is not only can he hit the open shot, but he could hit that, you know, you give the ball to him with 6 seconds left on the shot clock, and he's able to, initiate that contact, but then also rise up over his defender. He's from Villanova, so you know that he's going to be fundamentally sound and capable of running an offense to its completion. All these Villanova guys that come out of there, I mean, you're looking at, the Josh Harts of the world and Eric Pascal's, those guys, like Mikal Bridges, those guys are just really good, solid, cerebral players that are also athletic. So Sadiq is athletic and he's tough. So that's a kid that I necessarily wouldn't trade up for him if he's lucky enough to be at the end of, the beginning of the second. Maybe if we have that, we have the 27th pick or whatever.
Yeah, we have 27 and we have 38. But it looks like Bay, from what I'm seeing in the mocks, looks like he's going to be in the teens, lottery.
He's been able to skyrocket.
Lottery. Yeah.
He's been able to skyrocket. It was funny. Him and Tyler Bay were like neck and neck in terms of falling in the second round. And then now Sadiq's been able to kind of skyrocket. If Sadiq is lucky enough to be there by the 27th pick, yes, that's a guy that I like. The dude that I feel would also be a steal for us at that 27th pick, if we could talk about it too. Devin Vassell from Florida State.
Yeah.
Devin Vassell. I mean, 41% from three-point land. He's 6'6". He was overall like 49% from the floor. Excuse me. That's a great shooter. That's a pure shooter. And he was able to average, 12 points per game with two other guys that are most likely going to go in the first round too. So it's a very interesting dynamic that they had at Florida State. Very talented group. But in terms of the shooters that are left in the first round, those are two dudes, Sadiq Bey and Devin, that I would really look at.
For sure. How about Jaylon Smith? He's a guy that he reminds you of like a Serge prototype. He could be around 27-ish. What do you think? What do you think about Jaylon Smith?
Yeah, I was high on the Jaylon Smith train. I still am very high on the Jaylon Smith train, but I'm not going to get my hopes up because of the fact that what I'm hearing from my people in the league, he's not going to make it.
He's moving up. He's moving up the charts.
Oh, I'm sick.
Moving up the charts. Right now, Tankathon's got him at 23 with the Miami Heat. JLs. Riley wins again.
Don't tell me that, man. Don't tell me that. Oh Lord.
Ninja peas, the peas.
I should have. Hey, listen. I should have shut up a while ago. I shouldn't even say anything about him. Jaylon Smith, man. He's the dude that gives me the biggest vibes of he could be he's going to be a stud. And my quote unquote claim to fame is the fact that Donovan Mitchell, before he came into the draft, and Mitchell Robinson respectively, I was talking to Ian Begley and a few other dudes from ESPN, and I was like, these dudes got to come here. These guys got to come here. They're going to be stars. And no joke, I had some dude from the Post legit laugh at me at Barclays and was like, Donovan Mitchell? That dude's not. No, come on. He barely did anything for Louisville. I was like, all right, dude. Okay. So anyway, Jaylon Smith is the dude that is giving me those vibes. I just see a guy who's active. He's pushing 6'11" now. I saw him in person. They list him as 225. I don't believe that. He's a lean 225. So, but his physique, great shoulders. He's added a lot of weight since he's gotten to Maryland. But he's active, man. I think he had about close to 11 rebounds per game, 15 points, 11 rebounds. Shot I think some number like 53% from the field, and his free throws are what impressed me. Is he shot about 75 or 76% from the free throw line for a big who also could shoot threes. He, 38% from three.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about an active dude who blocks shots, runs the floor. He's an elite rim runner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking at an easy 8 to 12 points per game just off of his rim running alone. And that's a very, very, very underrated thing in basketball. I think not a lot is talked about. in terms of how to be an elite rim runner. But him matched up next to Mitch would be like, you know, a defensive maven. Just, you know, he's not a, I wouldn't, he's going to be he could be a great 4. His ability to stretch the floor, shoot, he could put the ball on the floor. You know, he does a lot of things where he's able to take that one dribble. I'm talking about from pinch post to the front of the rim, one dribble, you know, drop step, bang it. So that's the dude I like. I hope he falls, man. He's going to be special, man. So I hope he falls to us, hopefully.
It seems like a lot of these intriguing prospects are either a little bit higher than we're going to pick JL,
or a little bit lower.
Just a little bit out of reach. But, hey, we got some picks to play with. Hopefully, Leon and Walt and Ninja P see some value in these guys. Yeah, might have to take a chance.
Walt's gonna find some people. I was
ecstatic. What's your experience? What's your experience? I know you were happy with the Walt Parent hire. What was your experience with him?
Well, when I first started my coaching career, just in general, back in 2012, I was coaching at White Plains High School, and the head coach there is Spencer Mayfield. You know, shout out to my man Spencer Mayfield, who is a huge, mentor, friend of mine. But he was an advanced scout for the Jazz. He's been there, throughout the time that Walter's been there. So, just seeing, just doing my research and the guys that worked around the Jazz, I'm followed up with Walter, a while ago via LinkedIn and just casual conversation. So, but also seeing his resume is really good in terms of finding guys that a lot of people would, overlook, or, the hype necessarily isn't as strong as people would say. Perfect. That's the guy we got to get.
Found out a fit.
Listen, if you're going to be brutally honest, he drafted Hayward, had Darren Williams, was instrumental in getting, a
Millsap was a late pick.
Millsap was a late pick.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking, he didn't draft Boozer, but he was, I heard that he was instrumental in lining up to get him in free agency and stuff. And that turned out to be a good thing for them. So, Gobert, there's a pretty good list that he has. And a majority of those dudes have either been traded or left Utah, which makes you wonder, like, if they all stay together, how dangerous would that team have been?
Yeah.
So,
true story.
He's got a great eye for the game. Jim Zannon's another dude that, roundabout way, the first pick that he made in Brooklyn with Billy King was, or the first draft, was Mason Plumlee. So, of course I did my homework with that, just to see, Jim coming in there and, like, his work and basketball acumen with OKC. It's a really good front office that they get the players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, they're able to, you're able to build that relationship and have that bridge to the players, but they all of them specialize or, have an eye for player development. So, Leon, man, and you guys saw my tweets when we first hired Leon. I was like, this is going to be good. I like how they lined up or how they lined him up with certain people that are going to lead the way in terms of finding the right pieces to
get them the vets in the front office, for sure.
Yeah. Get the vets in the front office, man. Yeah. And for Walt to leave Utah to go to New York, I was talking about that too. I was like, I don't know what they did.
Facts.
But I'm happy.
Yeah.
So
good stuff,
I'm with
man.
It.
Absolutely. And we're talking to David Zenon, NBA skills trainer. Salute to everybody in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. We're talking Knicks draft, all things Knicks. We're going to segue to the coaches in a bit. We're going to get to the calls first. If you guys are new in the chat, leave us a hashtag new. And also 30 cities in the chat, man. Let us know where you guys are checking in from. Happy Friday evening to Knicks Nation, wherever you guys are tuning in from. David, you got a lot of people campaigning for a job for you at MSG, man. So appreciate all the insight so far, man. Hey, definitely good
that's
stuff.
Love, man. That's a dream. Hey, man, that's love, man. That's as I said, if that's an opportunity available, I'm fully on board, man.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys. Thank you all for Tell Leon that.
Yeah. You know, the chat is like the Apollo, man. The chat, man, if they like you, they'll let you know, man. But if they're not feeling you, man, they get a little rambunctious in the chat.
A little
man. Sometimes
bit.
we gotta calm down. We gotta call off the dogs a little bit sometimes, man. So you're doing a good job.
Hey, listen, I love Frank. I love the Knicks. Let's make this work.
he played the fence on Frank, JLs. You know what I mean? So the Frank Hive ain't too tight, and the Frank haters ain't too tight either. You know what I mean? He called it down the middle.
Love y'all, man.
He called it down the middle, man. All right, let's go to BK Prince. You up next, man? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on? So I had asked earlier about the Ball and Halliburton and Hayes and your pro comparisons, but y'all already answered that. So I'm trying to find out, like, is there besides Jaylon Smith, is there any other sleepers that you think are in this draft, either late, you know, some like Malcolm Brogdon types that'll come out second round and be top billing for like rookie of the year when they come in, guys like that you think we could probably sneak in that second pick, or even drafting that second round that might slip away?
Yeah, I like Isaac Okoro from Auburn. Not that he's a sleeper, but he's one of those dudes that, you know, he's either going to go in the top 8 or he is end of the lottery. But to your point, in terms of the 27th pick, you know, I don't see him going in the first round, which actually might be a blessing. But man, I would like to see, now that we're talking about bigs though, you know, Vernon Carey is one of those dudes that I would like to see, you know, kind of fall to us. Not just the whole Duke connection, but just he's a big body. I mean, we're talking 270, a lefty, could finish around the rim, smart player, tough-minded player. His dad played, you know, collegiate football, won a national championship, you know, all that stuff. So, you know, he's one of those guys. And then Elijah Hughes from Syracuse, 6'6", 215, can score on all 3 levels. He's not considered as a first-round pick. It's a reach to take him for the 27th pick, which I necessarily wouldn't do. But if we have the 38th, that's well within the range of getting a guy like Elijah. You know, he led the ACC in scoring. As I said, 6'6", you know, 215, strong body, strong-minded kid. Another young man that I've known since he was, I've known Elijah since he was like 9th grade, bro. Mm-hmm. And he's a kid that I endorse, like, that he could play in this league and not just like be decent. Like, he's one of those guys, you know, that's scrappy, that's going to play the right way, smart, athletic, you know, super athletic. Another guy, Jordan Nwora from Louisville.
Yeah. And the Knicks actually, it was announced they interviewed him. They had a virtual interview with Jordan Nwora already.
Hey, that's great.
So
that's great.
It seems like they're interested.
That's great. You know, he's a guy that he's first round, he's late first round in my book, but he's one of those dudes, 27th pick. You know, if Devin is gone, Jalen's gone, you know, Jordan would be a really good look for us. You know, that kid can shoot and he's tough, played on the Nigerian national team. So, you know, those guys, for what we need, in terms of filling in that wing position that could shoot, those are the guys that I would really look for you know, the sleepers in the first round. You know, there's a few different dudes, you know, overseas players that, you know, that can come into mind. However, nowadays you're looking for those bigs that can stretch the floor. They'll probably be gone too. So to answer your question, bro, Jordan Nwora would be that guy that, you know, if those other players aren't available, 27th pick, he's still there, I'm definitely taking him. And then sleeper in the second round, Elijah Hughes. How
about Duke guy Cassius Stanley? What do you think about Cassius?
I like Cassius. I just you know, size wise, he's going to be leaning more towards the point guard side of things. He could play the 2. He's got to put on a little bit more on his frame. He's also a year older than the typical freshman. He could shoot. He could hit shots from the perimeter. He's athletic. it would just be interesting to see what they would fill in with the rest of the guard positions earlier in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't, and we did need a guy that was kind of like off the bench, super electricity, super defender, active, plays the passing lanes, I wouldn't be mad if they picked him up too. But I think he would be a better fit for teams that are more patented in terms of, I guess, getting more mid-range shots.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be a guy that I think that would flourish well in the league by the spacing of the floor. Excuse me, another guy. I like Cassius Winston,
Michigan State,
as a sneaky steal, but Peyton Pritchard from Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miles. Wow, I can't believe I forgot his last name. Miles from Seton Hall. Goodness gracious, the point guard. He's a scorer. Big East Player of the Year. I can't believe I forgot his name. Anyway, those guys are going to be in the second round. I don't know how or why, but listen, they're all Miles Powell. Thank you. Yes. Why did I forget his name? I have no idea. But yeah, Miles Powell. Great talent, great scorer. But from all people that I've talked to throughout the league, executives and scouts, they're all projecting him to go in the second round. So, hey, if he or Pritchard are there in the second round, Hughes is gone. That's another guy that I wouldn't mind seeing.
Dope. And we're talking to David Zenon, NBA skills trainer. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Definitely want to shout out some people in the chat. Salute to my guy Cedro Cross in the building, manager for Serato, sneaker customizer.
My man.
My guy Cedro in the building. Salute to Cedro. Salute to everybody out in Jamaica, Queens, MIG. What's going on? Kaiser Sose, how you feeling? Everybody out in Pennsylvania, Mangu Man, Pranav, how you feeling? All the mods, appreciate it. Up north Canada, we got my guy Ayler up there, up in Canada. We got Joseph Brent checking in from Magnolia, Delaware. Shout out Joseph Brent. Edward Stolen checking in from Fort Lauderdale. Ernesto checking in from Miami. So salute to everybody out there, man. JL, so you want to shout out?
Yeah, shout out to everybody in my chat as well. DS, DJs, man, shout out to you.
DJs, man, Hampton in the building. Shout out 757, of course.
Always shout out to my guy Fritz. Shout out to Craig. Always shout out to Alex as always as well. Okay, all right. Chris Marshall, shout out to you. Wilkie B. King, also shout out to you. Also, Sherwin M, John Talento, everybody shout out to those guys. Also, I got a question somebody wants to ask about Malachi.
Malachi Flynn.
Yes, Malachi Flynn. They want to know your opinion on Malachi Flynn.
I haven't watched enough on him, to be honest with you. Haven't. I wish I did. Now that I answered that question, you asked that question, but no, I haven't watched enough to really talk about him. I'm focused on really breaking down this first pick. No offense to any of the other dudes or majority of the other dudes in the draft that you may bring up, which as I said earlier, listen, man, tweet me whatever dude you might think or come to mind that I would like to break down their film. Do so. Send it to me at my Twitter. But this first pick, man, it's critical. So I've been focused more so on, the first and the second, picks that we have in the first round and breaking down guys that are going to fit RJ and Mitch. So
absolutely.
I'll give you an answer to Malachi at the end of the weekend. Yeah. I got you, bro.
I mean, listen, this draft is looking like it's not coming until, maybe September time anyway. So we got time. Hopefully, David will join us on another show once we get down to it. Once we actually know what pick we have, then we can really start to strategize. So good stuff. Sure. All right, so we're gonna take 2 calls and then we're gonna get your thoughts on coaching and then wrap up. So salute to everybody once again. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. All right, Kenny, you're up next, man. What's going on? Yep. Kenny going once.
Hello.
Yo, Kenny, what's up, man? Yep, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Hey guys, this is a great show tonight.
Thank you.
Listen, as opposed to going for the point guard. One of our biggest problems has been shooting. And you throw the ball out to the guy in the corner, it's a dead soldier. How about Aaron Naismith with our first pick?
David, what do you think about it? I mean, is 1 through 6 too high for Naismith?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I would hope that we end up with the top 3 pick. I feel you with the whole shooting thing. I really do. But I feel like shooting could come at a premium later on in the draft. The biggest takeaway I get is, yes, it depends on what pick we have in the draft, or what pick the Knicks have, I should say, in the draft. And they do need a shooter, which is why I brought up, the Jordan Noirs of the world, Devins, Elijah Hughes, Sadiq Bays, those guys. Yes, but Naismith, great pick. If we could get him, like I'm saying, like if we had worst case scenario in like the end of the teens, because there's a real possibility if the league is if the season's canceled, everybody's even. You know what I mean? Like everybody's, kind of starts off even with that. So Naismith, that's tough, brother. I would like to know what pick we would have first before I would say that. But he's good. I'm not that. That's actually a great player to bring up. He's a plug-in kind of guy, plug-and-play kind of guy, 3D kind of guy. So great idea, but I wouldn't take him that early.
JL, I'm trying to get the point guard first. I mean, listen, we got a lot of needs. We know that, right? You may not be able to address all of it with a premier player in this draft, but that's what you got free agency for. You have 2 more picks later on in the draft. Maybe you get a player with some high upside, a good shooter that could help fill a role for you.
Absolutely, and I will always remind you to free dot. We need a great shooter. I mean, this guy when he was in the game, when he got one good season, he averaged double figures, and then he got stuck to the bench the following year. Free my guy, Dot.
Dotson's those dudes, man. Dotson's one of those guys. I'm like, youth movement. He's capable of shooting that thing. Trust me. And if you guys have been following me, which a majority of the people have been following me, when we drafted Iggy, I was like, man, this dude's gonna take a year to get used to the league, and then he's gonna be this kid's tough. And go ahead, search my history, whatever you want to do with Iggy. I said Iggy was gonna be tough. He's like a diamond in the rough, that the Knicks were able to get him just because he did shoot really well at Michigan. The speed of the game, he needs to adjust to it, which I wholeheartedly believe by going into like the middle of next year-ish, or excuse me, the following year, he's going to pick up on it, and that's going to be a serviceable player. So, fans, I get it. We want to get shooters galore, but we have 2 dudes on the bench, and those 2 that once it clicks for them, it's going to click for them. But we need a point guard in order for them to get the ball.
Get them activated. So we got a lot of needs, man.
You got to get them. Needs. Shooters are, creatures of habit, man. You got to get them in a rhythm.
True.
It's just the nature of the beast.
True story, man. All right. Last call of the night. Rudy Davis, what's going on? Rudy from ATL. Hope everything is good down there, man. How you doing?
Nice talking to you, Sims, and JL and David, man. This is wonderful. Y'all doing a great job.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
I'm so ecstatic about this program, man. You're the best, and I was just very ecstatic about it. But my question to you, I do that simulator. And that simulator, and I'm 61 years old. I used to play ball back in the day in Nerd Shell High School. And back in Nerd Shell, I used to play against Rodney McCray, Scooter McCray back in the day. And, when I was looking at it, I was seeing that Wiseman, when I did the simulator, Wiseman kept coming up at 4 and 3, and the Knicks kept picking it on the simulator because the 2 point guards were not there. Now, is that a possibility? Because I have a cousin in Virginia that knows Wiseman pretty well, and he wants to come to play with the Knicks. and you won't believe it, but it's because he wants to play with Mitchell. There's a lot of people that want to play with Mitch. It's crazy. I know you're shaking your head, but he can shoot from the outside. That's number one. Okay, number two. David, how do you like Tillman? Tillman, he reminds me of Horace Grant, back the old school Horace Grant. I know he's in the news lately, but he plays well with his goggles. And I want to know how you felt about Horace Grant.
Or Xavier Tillman.
I mean, about Tillman.
I gotcha. Well, first of all, shout out to New Rochelle High School. I went to Iona Prep, so shout out to you guys. Shout out to New Rochelle. But yeah, to answer your question, it's a two-part question, I guess, with Wiseman and also Tillman. Tillman, I mean, Jaylon Smith plays with goggles. I like him. Tillman, plays with goggles. I like his ability to be a guy that, fills up space. You can never have enough guys that are going to set good screens per se. But I think if there was going to be a pick out of the two, I would lean more towards Wiseman. Yes, I've heard that James wants to play with Mitch. Knowing a lot of people that do want to play with Mitch, I've gotten those texts, trust me, from different dudes around the league. But long story short, yeah, I mean, Wiseman is – I think Mitch is the same height. Wiseman's got a little bit more on him in terms of size. So it would be interesting to figure out, well, who's going to play the center, who's going to play the four, who's more comfortable.
Right.
Wiseman will be more of the four, I guess. He's more comfortable being more of the playmaker. It's just right now it's just so hard because we don't know what pick the team has, and we also don't know who's taking over in the reins for next year. Now, we'll lead into this, to this next, but if it's a guy like Tibbs, you're going to look for, as I said, the active guys around the rim to block shots and, just play straight up defense and stuff like that. So you might be more inclined to get like an Okoro type, just a super athletic dude that's going to be all over the floor. He's not a big, obviously, but he's one of those guys that's just like physique-wise. I mean, that kid has a phenomenal body. But, if you have Kenny Atkinson, then I could see you going the Wiseman-Tillman route where it's like if you have bigs and guys that need more so in terms of player development and learning how to play more defense, I guess Kenny kind of got not lucky, but he had Jared Allen coming in as a shot blocker. So, he needed to develop more on the offensive end. But, man, that's a great question.
Is Wiseman the generational talent that if you're looking at a best player available situation that you're going to pick, even if you have Mitch and figure it out? I mean, to be honest, I'd rather figure out the point guard situation first, man.
I do too, and I'm wholeheartedly with you. Like that was the point I was going to get to. Is like Tillman and Wiseman would be good additions. Don't get me wrong, and they would be very serviceable big men. We just need a consistent point guard that's able to get guys in the right spots. There's a difference between being able to pass the ball and then being able to properly assist, the passes to get to guys to score the ball. I could pass the ball to an open man and just, fill in a place and pass and cut, all day. But if it doesn't lead to anything productive, and also there are times where the season, there was so much calamity going on. There wasn't that one person on the floor to just be like,
get everybody in order.
All right, let's chill. Like, we got to relax. We can, we got to, reset, run whatever we got to do. There wasn't any of that. So, or not enough of it. So it was like, we just need a point guard that's going to be cerebral, that's capable of being a playmaker, finds the open man, but then also creates a rhythm in the offense. I don't need crazy numbers from the jump. I just need consistent guys that feel comfortable within the offense and that they develop. So point guard first in my book.
I'm going point guard. JL's, where you at on the Wiseman thing?
On the Wiseman, I don't know. I've heard too much negative on Wiseman to really.
I just feel like his motor, I've heard a lot about.
Yeah.
He's in the McDaniels boat, per se, from Washington. crazy upside, crazy athlete when he puts his mind
When
to
he
it.
wants to be.
He could be the best player in the draft, but then the motor comes into play where you're just like, does he really want to do this? Like, is this something where it's like, I'm not questioning his heart. I think it's just sometimes players feel they can get stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And, you need, for this city, we can't have stagnant.
Can't have that.
We already have a
Nope.
We already have the motor issue with Knox, man. We can't have that, bro.
No.
Cannot have that. All right.
I think.
Go ahead, bro.
I think Knox's thing with the motor. I got killed for this on Twitter, but I'm gonna say it anyway because I'm a wholehearted believer. I believe in Knox. I believe in
Kev, man.
I think that his hesitancy is. I said that in Kentucky, the motor issue was because he legit was better than most of the players on the floor whenever he stepped on the floor. And when you're at a program like Kentucky and you're surrounded by 4 other dudes that are just killers too, you're gonna take plays off sometimes. Like let's be honest. Like it does happen to the best of guys sometimes. RJ was accused of that down at Duke because Z was killing it. Cam was, had his games. There were lots of things going on with that. And then when you come to the Knicks, and you are a lottery pick, the whole mental aspect and the speed of the game, that was an issue. And that's something where I think if he needed to get adjusted to the speed of the game by not necessarily just being thrown in the fire and having to score so much, because then you're talking about a guy, as I said, when you start thinking too much, it's not necessarily that you're scared of the moment. You're not trusting your mechanics. You're not trusting that muscle memory. So Knox became one of these things where if you saw in the beginning of Summer League, and all the fans, I suggest you to do this. Summer League, Kevin Knox was shooting the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
He had his palm on the side of the ball. He would turn his palm in terms of getting the laces lined up with these 3 fingers. All right. So fans, keep this in mind. The laces of the ball would be in these 3 fingers, and he would always have his wrists 90-degree angle, but the palms would start on the side, and then at the apex of his shot, he would turn it, which was great. It was working for him. A lot of shooters do it. Like Steph does it. Harden does it. Like a lot of guys do that. The regular season, however, his hands started going over the top of the ball to almost as if like he's protecting it because he's thinking, okay, now I got to do this. Now I got to do that. So if your palm goes over the top of the ball and you're putting the ball on the floor, that's wasted movement right there because you're not attacking towards the basket. You're attacking down. Knox's base was never strong that way. Hence why a lot of fans were saying, well, he's too weak and he's doing this or he gets knocked off of that. Sure, that could be partly true. But the way that you're able to shoot towards the basket, it's essentially as if you're throwing a chest pass, if that makes sense. Does that kind of make sense, everybody? So like your guide hand's straight. I like to teach this. Your guide hand is going to be straight. Your thumbs are lined up here. And if you're confident with your shot and it goes straight up with your elbow in, you are just throwing essentially this pass from your chest up above your eyebrow. Knox wasn't doing that. Palm would go over the top. His shooting hand would go behind the ball. That's a recipe for disaster. So, yeah, if you guys can go back, check out the Summer League highlights. If you can, get slow motion or get synergy, check out the way he would hold the ball for his triple threat and getting ready to shoot the regular season. All of that went out of the window, and he started turning his hips. It's a physical thing with him. So it's not necessarily that he can't do it. So that would be my biggest thing with the Knox. That's my breakdown for Knox's jump shot. But yeah, dude, no, I believe in that. I think if he has a confident ability to just have the same muscle memory, he could be a decent player. I don't see a star.
I got patience. I got patience for Kev.
Yeah,
I definitely got patience.
Sure.
So all these kids are so young, man. They just gotta get coached. And again, Kev along with Frank, Kev's gonna be looking at his 3rd coach in as many years, man. So exactly. As we segue to that, just give me some quick thoughts on the coaching search right now. We're hearing Tibbs is the hot candidate. Atkinson is gonna have the interview. What are you thinking in terms of coach right now, and your familiarity with these guys?
Yeah, my familiarity. I'm very familiar with Kenny, being able to watch, practices, just picking the brains of guys on his staff, knowing Kai, but also just what he was able to do with the players that he had. You know, we're talking X's and O's. He's a stickler for details. He's going to establish, regardless of whether fans, you know, it's funny, Kenny Atkinson or Tibbs, you're going to get this grinded out culture, you know, this culture of details matter. We're going to do the little things over and over, and we're going to fix those things that you feel so comfortable with. We're going to make them, you know, uncomfortable. So you're going to get that with either coach. Kenny is younger. He's more, you know, he's been in the game as of recent. There's not as much of a track record, you know, which I think also is overrated because players say that. I mean, people say that Tibbs runs players to the ground. I guess I could see that. You know, I think fans are taking into account that some of these injuries that the guys in Chicago have are freak injuries, but also practices and NBA players, they all, if you have the opportunity to watch an NBA practice, it is not just, it's not sweet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not something where, oh, they're doing too much or physically they're just, no, it's, you're going to play 48 minutes a game. Cool. Most of them are not. It is what it is. That's just the nature of the beast. I want to get Atkinson here. I think in terms of establishing that culture, the player development, what he was able to do with Prigioni as a player, but also having him on the staff,
coach, yeah,
and learning more and more things in how the point guard, you know, play occurs. People don't know, like Tiago Splitter, Prigioni, Milt Palacio, all those guys were in the Nets organization, and those were all. Were they stars? No, but they all did their role really, really well throughout their time in the league. And they all were players that were all coached by detail-oriented coaches. So, long story short, that's the guy that I would like to have is Atkinson. If Tibbs comes, I wouldn't be mad at that either. You know, defensively, he's going to have to learn though that we can't ice the ball, you know, every 2 plays, because that's not how the NBA operates anymore. And I'm sure he's privy to that. I'm sure that he has learned by watching the game. But Chicago did that a lot because they were able to do that with the young Joe Kim and Tyrus Thomas on board. So, you know, you can get away with that when you have active bigs. So, you know, those 2 dudes are the guys that I would like to see get the job. Atkinson, number 1, though.
Are you concerned? I've heard some concerns about Atkinson's ability to adjust.
In-game adjustments, right?
Yeah, he has in-game adjustments offensively or even defensively. Do you have anything to say about any thoughts on that?
I do have concerns about it. The only concerns I do have about that is the roster that they had. You know, yeah, Dinwiddie was a very, you know, potent scorer. They had, you know, D'Angelo, who was a really great scorer as well. But D'Angelo was also a very, you know, high volume everything, whether it was scorer, shooter. You know, I feel like this Knicks team coming up, judging by what I've heard behind the scenes and also what we're looking at, the team is not going to be one dude's high volume. It's going to be pretty good in terms of hopefully spreading the ball around, spreading the floor out. So that was one of those things, because also LeVert was hurt. There were just little things that added up with the Nets. And then this year with, you know, Kyrie coming on board, you know, then missing a few important pieces like Kevin Durant, you know, it's hard to kind of, you know, if you plan for one thing, with a player such as like Kyrie, and then he's hurt for long periods of time, it's kind of hard to fill that in. So I could see the issues with him adjusting and kind of blowing those leads, but they had a lot of ups and downs this year with the Nets. So hopefully we don't have that. We have a younger team. We have a team that is strictly here for development, which is going to be great for Kenny as well, to instill that instead of getting a bunch of vets who you're still going to have to try to mold into, you know, said X amount of players. You know, if you had a bunch of Joe Harrises on this roster, that'd be really good, you know, but we don't. So
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, Kenny's my guy. That's my pick. I would like to see him here. I'd like to see him come back.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I would definitely, if I had it between Kenny and Tibbs, I feel like Kenny would be more suited for this development process. And like you said, based on his track record, you might get an Atkinson Miller ticket, JLs. You never know. With a Miller as your associate head coach.
I wouldn't mind bringing Miller back. I think I have Tibbs third. I think I have Miller, Kenny, Tibbs.
Miller, Kenny.
Yeah,
Tibbs.
I like Miller. I like Miller from a personal standpoint too. You know, my last 2 years working for Westchester, he was a coach, and literally hearing him on the sideline, because, you know, I work the table, you see the way that he's able to, you know, call plays on the fly, dissect the matchups that they have based on like, he is legit a basketball, you know, fiend. And you have other coaches that are just like, every coach is going to rely on their assistants, but Mike Miller has a tendency of being like, look, this is what we have for X amount of plays and what we're going to do in terms of the matchups. If this happens, you know, he's covering all his bases. And the players respond to that. You know, they're going to work really hard with that. So seeing him firsthand, feet away from me in Westchester, and then also just watching him with the team this year to finish up the year, if he came back as like an associate head coach, that would be great. And it would be a really good 1-2 punch to see that. A dark horse for me, though, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like I was hearing rumblings about, you know, Jeff Van Gundy looking to come back somehow. I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of the guys that played with him for Team USA, and these are not NBA guys. These are G League guys, but one of them was being Marshall Plumlee. And Marshall told me flat out, he was like, he's like probably the second smartest coach I've ever had. Like,
I'm telling you. Sorry.
I like Jeff a lot as a person. I like Jeff a lot as a coach. He's always been a cool dude. He's able to relate to the players. So I would like it from a personal and professional standpoint. If he was in New York again as an assistant, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
I would say I wanted Jeff Van Gundy when 2 years ago when Fitz was.
Same here.
I wanted Jeff Van Gundy. If Jeff Van Gundy is an option this year, I want him as head coach personally, but I haven't really heard that much about him.
Right, that's why he would be at the top of my list, Sales. But I just don't know. Is it realistic? I don't know.
Yeah, but he's at the top.
I don't think he wants to be a head coach. I don't see him. I would have to. I don't know. I mean, I would have to necessarily like talk to the man, but I would say from what I've heard from others, I don't think he's looking to. I think he just wants to be in coaching.
Yeah.
But
be around.
Seeing the way that things are building in New York, you know, there's a lot of things that are exciting that you know that are on the horizon. You know, they haven't obviously come out yet, but like it could be good for us. You know, I think that it will be good for the Knicks. You know, so we'll see.
I would love to see it, man.
Yeah.
Well, David, man, I definitely appreciate. We went into like double, triple overtime, man. We usually keep the shows to under an hour, but you know, you don't get this type of insight every day from your guests, man. So we definitely appreciate all of the insight that you came and all that you came on the show with, all the gems that you dropped, man. Definitely appreciate it, bro.
Nah, I appreciate you guys having me. This was dope. Hey, I'm looking forward to the next one, man.
Yeah, man. Just let the fans know where they can find you, man, and we'll make sure that the mods throw your Twitter link in the chat as well.
Yeah, it's David Zenon, Zenon, the number 1 at
on Twitter.
David Zenon 1 at Twitter.
At David Zenon 1 on Twitter. Definitely appreciate it. JL, so I'm gonna swing the camera over to you and go ahead and sign out, man.
All right, man. You know the drill. Latest episode of the Nick of Time Show is up on youtube.com/Nick of Time Show. Definitely watch that, and we talking about all the coaching stuff and the new hires, and you know the latest Knicks news and all that stuff. Also check out the nickoftimeshow.com to watch the latest blogs. We got our guy Ken who's dropping gems every week. Also we had David Sheets drop a nice little article about RJ Barrett, so definitely read that. And yeah, follow me on all social media as well. That is all. back to you, CP.
All right. Definitely appreciate you guys, and salute to everybody for watching, man. Everybody that's stuck in here with us, we definitely appreciate it. Remember, these shows are available in audio podcast format: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon Alexa, and Stitcher. So you can always find us. Leave a comment in the chat or the video and share these videos. It goes a long way to making this show the #1 show for the fans, by the fans, Jay Ellis. Make no mistake about it. And next guest, Jay Ellis, it has been confirmed. We finally confirmed it. Wednesday night, Charlie Ward is coming through to KnicksFanTV. So definitely don't want to miss that. Charlie Ward is coming through. That's Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we got him locked into the evening slot, man. So Alex Collins, my guy, checking in from Ireland. It's probably like 4 in the morning over there. He's been struggling to stay up. Can finally go to sleep, man. All the mods, we appreciate it. Above the Rim, definitely appreciate it. And yeah, man, everybody, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, man. Peace.